horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
A big warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Inquiry Sunday Sermon. My name's Lee Keys, and joining me, as always, to discuss the weekend's events, shenanigans, are Chris Lorne Malvo from Twitter and Jonas Leng, my partner in crime. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Yes, and we're going to start the show off a bit of a rant. We're going to get straight into it in Bar Stewards style, really. We're angry Bar Stewards this weekend for various reasons. And one of them is our very own Catherine Fry. She got a little bit of how can I put this? She had a few altercations yesterday in the press room with various people. She wouldn't name names, so I can't name names on the show. But obviously that's Catherine's choice not to name names. But basically they upset her yesterday by coming up to her saying that she shouldn't be associated with the Bar Stewards Inquiry, as it's bad. It's bad for her. I mean, and basically they upset her, and she left before the last, and she didn't even attend work today. Given all the things about bullying and everything else, I want to know, John, Chris, I want to know your thoughts on this. So, John, what are we saying about this unsavoury incident?
Well, it is very unsavoury, isn't it? I mean, conform or be excluded, basically.
That's what it sounded like.
Toe the line, don't speak out of turn, don't call it as you see it, write down that everything's wonderful, and we'll accept you back into the fold. Lovely stuff. It was rather like Liz Truss today at the Cenotaph. You got 7 ex-Prime Ministers there, one of which has killed 1 million Iraqis, and 6 of them are all talking amongst themselves, and there's poor dear Liz there just sat on the edge with nobody talking to her.
Mm.
That's the analogy with it, you know?
Yeah, it's a big club and you ain't in it. And the thing for me, I mean, obviously Catherine is a very strong woman, but to me it was disappointing because the folks that are saying this sort of thing clearly listened to the show, because they wouldn't know what we were saying if they didn't listen. And I know for a fact that some of the stuff we've said in the past has actually ended up in articles elsewhere. And this is the thing: we are doing what we do, right? Which is an entertaining sort of podcast kind of thing, and a bit of fun, few laughs, and a bit of satire. But at the same time, highlighting the issues that these so-called pen-scribbling, arse-licking journalists should also be covering. Is that not right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's rich, isn't it? That the criticism comes from possibly some of the biggest freeloaders known to mankind. I mean, the racing press has been legendary for being, sort of arse-licking ponces. So, I think any criticism that Catherine or anyone else receives from them should be treated with lofty disdain. I mean, they're an appalling bunch of people, and always have been. They are journalists in the same way that Broadwater Farm is a farm, right? i.e. not at all. So I wouldn't have any regard for pretty much any of them, actually, bar 1 or 2 notable exceptions, but they're not worth a carrot together. So I think it's quite good, isn't it? It shows you're sort of, barking up the right tree, as it were.
It is. I mean, that basically says that we are ruffling feathers and people don't like us. Why? Because we reveal things that people would rather disappear to the bottom of the out tray and, into the shredder. And that's the reason they don't like it. It's apparently, we're no good for racing. And to be honest, I kind of get the sentiment that if you want to be a career journalist these days, you don't want to appear on the bar streets.
They're not journalists, are
no,
they? I mean,
are they? Fuck,
they're
absolutely.
Pamphleteers, aren't they? They're PR agents. That's all they are. They're not journalists by any objective measure. Reporting on the odd race. Well, they don't even do that. A lot of them, do they? You get the spotlight, and that's about it. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what a lot of them do, to be honest with you. stories aren't being broken in the way they were. They're not uncovering scandals in the way you would expect normal journalists to do. What they're there is for a free lunch, a day out, and maybe a few tips. That's it. Can't blame them. I mean,
it sounds lovely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I don't blame them at all. But to call themselves journalists, is I think an insult to the profession of journalism, which has many, many decent and notable people throughout the years in the sport, but not today, I don't think.
Another question then, on this subject, right? If Catherine had been a big sort of 6'3", 280 pounds,
they'd say fuck all.
They'd say nothing, would they?
Fuck all. No, it'd be smile. Hello, how you doing? Are you all right? Or good to see you and all that shit. Exactly. It's always the same. They're bullies. People that do that kind of thing. You're right. If you're like a big lump with a load of scars, then they'd run a fucking mile, because you could beat them with your cap, all of them, couldn't you? That's
absolutely. Thing. Yeah, I mean, it's fair play to Catherine for not revealing names, because honestly, I would have gone to town, absolutely gone to town on them on this show, and I would give them a public scathing if I knew who they were that were saying these things. Because let's be right, we're in a world now of you lose your platform for wrong think or wrong speech, or what people consider as wrong think and wrong speech, and this is the problem. This is in the wider world, where just because you believe one certain thing isn't right, or something doesn't look right, you then get castigated and outed as a freak or a crank or an idiot, and you get cancelled. And it's the same sort of thing going off here with Catherine, in the all of a sudden colleagues in the press room have got all nasty and dirty because a few hurty words might have been said on bar stewards that maybe offends one or two of them in the way that the sport is portrayed on this podcast, which is outrageous, because all we do most of the time, barring the odd rumours stated, which obviously I could get in trouble for if someone wants to take me to task on it, other than that, we merely repeating facts that are that are there in front of us, and this is why I find it offensive that these so-called journalists don't actually report properly on matters. And instead of things like, for example, we'll move on now onto the performance today of 1,000 Tears, the Emmet Mullens runner that's 4-1 anti-post favourite for the race. It's gone off 29 on the machine. It's pulled up after 2 hurdles, looked like it couldn't gallop for 6 furlongs, and it was barely mentioned on racing TV. I've checked. I don't watch ITV racing, but I checked, and it was hardly mentioned on there. And these are serious issues that damage the sport in terms of, this should be a major inquiry at why the 4-1 anti-post favourite has got off 29s on the machine, pulled up, chaps. Where it's like Delia Smith's entered the building again, haven't they? Where are you? Where are you? Chris, John.
I think it was back to I think earlier in the week, wasn't it, from sort of 14 or 16? So you could argue, if you were being charitable, that was as a result of people looking at that thinking, oh, that's a plot. And, as we know, it doesn't take a huge amount of money to move anything really in those sort of early anti-post markets. And that perhaps, that when the race when the market settled down, it became apparent the horse didn't have a lot of ability anyway, or had a problem, and that the money that caused it to shorten up was simply people following what they thought was an anti-post gamble, whereas in fact the horse is not very good. That you could interpret it that way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing though. Again, we're talking about journalism, right? It doesn't really matter whether it should have been that price or not.
No, true.
It's the fact. True. It's the fact that it's not being talked about because it's a negative factor. If it's a positive factor, if it's the other way around and it's 33s into 2-1, oh, Charles Burns has landed a massive gamble. It's heroed and lauded, but the other way around isn't. The other way around, it's in the shredder. It's straight in the shredding machine. We don't talk about that, and this is why we exist. Again, going back to the Fry thing. I mean, the only journalist I ever consider as worthy of listening to on television other than Nick Luck on Sunday mornings, I give credence to Nick Luck. He's a good broadcaster and a good interviewer. Lydia Hislop is fantastic in terms of probing questions. But look where Lydia got in the past with having a go at Hendo. Remember about the going and the withdrawal of was it Shishkin? No, it's heavy, and then that's in our title tunes. Basically, it wasn't. Lydia made a perfectly valid point that it was good to soft, and yet Hendo went all Popeye and went berserk, and that's what you get off them. You for challenging them, they're not willing to be challenged that they're wrong.
Wasn't there a spell there where AP wouldn't talk to her as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's been many face on by that. I mean, the kilt wouldn't speak on Racing UK as it was known as then for about 2 years after I think he didn't like a certain interview that he was given, and so he just wouldn't speak. I mean, this is what you're dealing with.
Lost though, was it?
No, absolutely not. An idiot, an idiot and a kilt. But there we go. And I mean, Lydia for me, like, sort of does try to lead the way, although. After the old 2009 Betfair forum exploits of, when they used to remark upon Lydia's finest Hindenburgs, John, they've not been seen since.
Well, now they're back in the hangar, and rightly so, I would say. I mean, she's a serious journalist at the end of
Absolutely.
And a shame that every time she tries to take journalism forward in racing, you get some idiot like AP or Endo getting the hump with it.
Yeah, I think the only sort of critical one we've probably got is Ruby Walsh at the moment. That kind of he can get away with it because it's like who he was. How many? They can't say to him, how many horses have you ridden? No. If he's really laying into someone or he's not happy with something, but that's why he gets away with it. If it's said by Lydia,
yeah. It's true, yeah.
You can't say it to Walsh, so that's how it works.
Although he has fallen off more festival horses than I have, so
I know.
there's another way of looking at it. I haven't fallen off at the last Annie Power, so
no one ever forgives him. I know, but what a legacy! All those brilliant rides he's given, and then literally your career is defined by you let me down in my acca for Annie Power for a life-changing amount.
Dirty bastard, yeah. Fucking bookies had that out, exactly, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, as journos go, Lydia's the one, like I said, the Betfair forum days of criticising her.
Wood doesn't like racing people, does he?
No.
He calls it as he says it, I would say as well. He can spot an arsehole at 500 yards.
Yeah, I would say they're the two that you hold in high regard, like in terms of the media. I think the rest, if you're compromised by you're getting payments from Paddy Power or you're getting payments from XYZ to a degree, I don't think journalists should be doing that. I genuinely don't. Which, before we carry on with the review, that another topic is the Coral Racing Club, John and Chris. It's free. Coral Racing Club free, where they've got 4 or 5 horses with different trainers, and you can join it free, get all the updates and the newsletters. Isn't this a serious conflict of interest?
Can you join if you can't get a bet on with Coral?
Well, this is the other thing. Is this Coral's way of trying to spot?
They're trying to smoke us out.
Well, are they trying to spot wagons? Like more punting wagons to come in and like, yeah, you're an idiot. You could have plenty on. Is it a way of doing that? Are they doing it so to get more punters in? Right, we need more punters, right? So spot the idiots, and then he's got to be a punter driver, hasn't it?
Well, just imagine your dismay if you're finally on for that life-changing Lucky 63. You've had it with Corals, and the last leg that you're sweating on is third favourite at 5-1, and it's owned by the fucking Coral Racing Club.
I know. I mean, this is it.
Jim Crowley's riding it.
Bent Jim. To me, it has to be a conflict of interest. Chris, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, but as John said, it's a marketing drive, isn't it? And yes, there'll be concerns about the scenario that John's just painted, but the reality is they'd pay it out because it'd be what marvellous publicity. Look, someone who spent £1 has won £500,000. So it's a marketing drive, and it's a way to get more punters through the door, isn't it? That's all it is.
Indeed. Okay, we'll do a review now. We're gonna start yesterday, and obviously
Can we start with the first at Lingfield?
we can. Yeah, of course, John. I mean, look, I'm game for anything this week in terms of, and obviously we need to highlight this as well because we're talking about.
I've got a dog in this fight, haven't I?
Yeah.
Regular listeners will know I tipped one in the 11:45 at Lingfield, Evasive Power, which at the time of tipping was 5-1, I think.
Yeah.
And by the time the race went off, it was 18-1 on Betfair. After Lee highlighted the fact that this is a touch horse, and we were hoping to save some money for this. I actually put a tweet up just before the race, predicting this horse would be badly away, stay at the back until straightening up, and then wide into the straight. And it was badly away and came widest of all in the straight. All too predictable, and quite a bit of justification for these bookies that are fighting shy of taking bets, to be honest, because not only could I almost certainly not win before the race, the bookies, who had laid the favourite to huge amounts by the look of things, didn't have a third favourite running for them.
Do you know, I mean, obviously, knowing the fact that it is a gambling horse and when the cash is down, it will win. I was surprised that David Probert, who rode it, jockey to Andrew Balding, gets some big high-profile rides, is quite more than happy to go to the dark side of the force to do their bidding job.
Well, as I say, it was just all too predictable, wasn't it? If you were going to bet on anything in that race, you were going to bet on that horse being badly away.
Oh yeah, and obviously, like you told me, you didn't back it because of the drift, and that's the thing. It's sad when you're tipping these horses up that this has to happen.
You're doing your best for folks, and at the end of the day, when you're playing with your own money as well, you want to save some money for them at this level on the all-weather.
Yeah,
it's different in a guineas if you can go from 5 to 8 and win a guineas, but these all-weather races, you do not want to be going from 5-1 to 18-1.
I think as well. I'm gonna also sort of defend some nasty bookmakers here, because it must be difficult to if someone approached me, and I know the phone book as good as probably most people there is, right, in terms of the work put in. Now, it's impossible to price some races. It literally is, because you've got a dodgy connection here, or like a Lee Power owned horse. How do you it's all right being
every bit of serious money was for that favourite yesterday.
Yeah, I mean. So this is it. This is the problem. Punters will complain and will say, and we've had a piece from Charles Burns this week saying about the state of the game and how it's sad that the betting's in decline, and it's all about the betting ring, and it's all about betting. This is crazy stuff from the very man that he's either off or not off. He's either 5-4 or 500s.
Well, imagine all you were doing was letting Charles Burns try it.
Well, you can't make a living, and bookmakers, I'm not saying have the right, just automatic right to make money. That's where we've gone wrong in Big Corp. Big Corp now just want the guaranteed bucks, which is wrong. And
they do have the right not to want the pants pulled down.
But yeah, the same thing on the other side of the coin. Is there any wonder they don't want to take bets on horse racing? Because let's be fair, you have to be balanced. In the if you've got a race where the second, third favs aren't off, and your bookmaker has no chance. He's just basically giving it away. He's giving cash away, and I think therein lies the problem. The books have worked out over time that the slot machines and the casinos are a fantastic revenue products. It's easy money for them. and everything else. Well, if you want to start bending horses and stopping, and stopping fives, like, and stuff like that, it's not for them. And in some respects, who can blame them on that? Because if the boot was on the other foot and we were books, and then you've got punters coming up all back in the second fav, and suddenly the fav is pulled up after 2 flights, you kind of get fed up. So it works all ways, and I think there needs to be a balance, obviously, in terms of how online bookmakers are treating punters at the moment, and the same for there needs to be some kind of balance, and the bookmakers are fighting back here clearly with what's been happening over the last few years with punters getting restricted and accounts shut down and all sorts of shenanigans. So there has to be some balance, but horse racing doesn't do itself many favours when you're getting horses that are just deliberately stopped. Now that's my problem. I haven't got a problem with maybe, if we win, we win. We haven't got our price, but we'll still try and give it a go, but we'll maybe not ride as handy as what we did. But when you see them just nailed to the floor, that's the problem I have, because that doesn't... People praise gambles. People are taught to praise gambles in this game, but as we've seen, they don't like it when the boot's on the other foot, and they backed Emmet Mullens today in the Greatwood, and it ends up a price, and it's all right after time. I've seen many after time. Oh, it shouldn't have been that price. You idiots! Tell me a Ronan McNally horse that should be that price or that price. You haven't got a fucking clue. Ronan McNally. You can't tell a Ronan McNally horse when it's backed into 5-4 that whether that's going to win or not. It shouldn't have been that price. What idiots! You have no clue. You have no idea what price 1,000 tiers should have been today. None of you. No. Because it was either going to be well bet and a genuine gamble, or it wasn't, and it wasn't. So there we go. That's how I stand on it. Kicked us off nicely there, John, for the review, with a nice rant regarding gambling horses. Cheltenham on the Saturday. I mean, I tell you what a disgrace of a meeting Cheltenham was.
You get down to one day, couldn't
it's a disgrace. But for the Irish supporting it, like with several good and fancied runners, you could have ran this at Fonkwell or Huntingdon or something. It's just absolute bullshit.
Well, why don't they forget this shit all and just have episodes of the Antiques Roadshow live from Cheltenham until now? Just fuck it off completely until the festival, because that's all anybody's bothered about, isn't it?
It is, and this is the thing. We've said it for several seasons now, where you've got trainers have targets, and rightfully so. They'll say this horse will win this race. This is his ideal race. This is his track. This is his race, and you can see that. And a lot of Irish plan for that. You can see with the 2 days racing at Naas and Navan, that Irish trainers have a plan. But again, we're talking about who'd be a bookmaker. It's difficult to price races up when a third of the field aren't off. I mean, I did feel for Unanswered in the 330, because although it won impressively, the market drift on Betfair was quite worrying. To go off 3.75. And it won like an odds-on shot, really, in the intermediate handicap hurdle to land some bets. Anyway, onto the Arkle Challenge Trophy, where we were, as a pod on Friday, we were wrong about Tommy's Oscar in terms of, I thought he was a bit careful at his fences, Tommy. Wasn't impressed with his jumping, really. He was out to the right as well. I'm not sure the strength of the form. I wouldn't get carried away, John, would you, on Banbridge?
No, it didn't really do a lot for me, to be honest.
Did it nice in the end, but I mean, I've heard people talk about him for the Arkle, but
I found myself a little bit underwhelmed, to be honest, as with most of the card, in all fairness.
I think that's it. I think going back to what we've been, you look at the races and.
Well, I mean, that one, how is it relevant to the Arkle? You had half a dozen runners noddling round there. Arkle are going to go like stink. There's about 14 runners. It'll be blood and guts from the first treads. That's not a fucking Arkle trial, is it?
No. Is it L? Is it L? It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace of a trial, and it's disgrace. I mean, Cheltenham really. It's clear now that if it isn't the Fez, it's just not. I mean, we're going to see this all winter. We're going to see some really ordinary cards, I think.
I'm short of Cheltenham of ideas, in all honesty. I mean, the Transversal trial, the Arkle trial, I mean, what's next? The fucking Gold Cup trial?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, Willie used to take Alboom photo to Tremor and, to have his annual New Year spin around there before turning up in March. The most boring Gold Cup winner that ever lived, I think. But did the job.
Well, I mean, everything just gets so on your nerves, doesn't it? I mean, there was no suggestion of Allaho missing the King George until Envoy Allen won his comeback race.
No.
And then it's like Cheveley Park have gone out with Willie Mullens with a bottle of scotch, got Allaho pissed up, and he's fallen over and bruised an elbow or something. Ridiculous again, but there was no talk of him not running until Edward Allen had won.
No
shit.
I mean, as regular listeners will know, the Var Stewards, we're not really National Hunt fanatics. I genuinely have the logic of, if you're trying to find the fastest horse in a race, which is basically the first past the post, why do you want obstacles in the way? And talking of obstacles, going on to today, Saturday was very uninspiring, barring my bet at you Toxeter Super Sunrise that went 10 on in the run. And honestly, chaps, I swear, if I was an undertaker, I would stop people from dying.
Yeah, stop clocks. Yeah.
I mean, I give up. After that, I got a white handkerchief and I just started waving it. It's when you beat, you beat.
When you go 10s on and fucking spitting, make breaks, isn't it?
I know. Absolutely. Well, was that as well? Mick Easterby doing you. You have
to wear those originals out.
Yeah, and you'll get some free gammon sent from the USA, John.
I'm surprised nobody sent him jump yet.
Yeah, thinking he's poor. They look at his kitchen, his living room, think he's got nothing. So they're sending him meat.
String rolled up his trousers and all that shit. Yeah.
Holes in his trainers.
Yeah.
There we go. Right, on to today. I mean, it was a similar thing today, and I confess, this was the first time I switched off the computer sort of about 2/3 into the day. I had so many seconds and so much shit that I just decided I ain't turning this around. And this is a lesson for you disciplined people. When you're really seething and you're just fed up of the seconds, that's what you do. That's power. That's power to the people. You live to fight another day. You can come back in a better frame of mind. And your next bet is not going to be one that you're just thinking, well, if I have this amount on, I might just get out of trouble. This is what I have to think. And I knew it wasn't my day. It was a bad day today. People will be delighted hearing this news, listening on this podcast. They want me to do it, and rightfully so. But yeah.
The party started in the press room now.
There is. The Cheltenham press room are roaring at this news that I've done my brains. But
the whiskey out, they're tossing each other off. It's fantastic.
Snorting lines, all sorts, There was rumours that old Barry Orr of Betfair was moaning on Saturday that there was no full fat Coke. Sounded like Big Mac, John.
I'm not keen on full fat Coke, to be honest.
Are you not?
Now, like the diet stuff, I've convinced myself it's a magic potion, and you only have to drink that to lose weight.
8 sugars, eight teaspoonfuls of sugar in a full fat Coke. Gives everyone a boost. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. Maybe it's full fat Coke that gets you going. Eyes popping. Or Monster, John. You're into Monster.
I'm just going to have a look now and see how much sugar's in these fucking things I'm drinking.
You're probably on about 16.
Yeah, it won't be good, will it?
I don't think so. Not the full fat ones. No.
Well, there's vitamins in there anyway, so.
Anyway, we're going to look at the Sunday cards because they were more interesting, to be honest. At Navan, we looked at the Hollow Games Beginner's Chase, and John noticed a few here that sort of, like the baby Jersey for 6 feet apart shaped very well. She did really well, and like you said, John, not asked for any sort of effort, really, from an uncompromising position. And I also felt the two McManus horses shaped fantastic in this. The Gavin Cromwell trained Limerick Lace particularly taking my eye because that horse definitely needs sort of, at least 2.5, probably 3 miles. She does, and I thought that was a tremendous run for a mare that's rated 120 over hurdles. I think she's got some sort of a future. But it'd be interesting to see where they're targeted. The problem with JP horses, as we know, it's no good having them as Jimmy Linley's because, the JP decides when they win. So
Louis Counters before he said no, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, that's it. But I love. I mean, this is the thing we talked about bookmakers taking bets, and when we moan and we say, oh, they won't take a bet. I mean, you break that Beginner's Chase down, and there was probably like 3 triers.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the prices, so the 3 triers were 7-4, 4-1, and 2-1, so 36, and that's the SPs, not Betfair. So 36, 89% there. So you're going to do 11% of your dough as a bookmaker. Nothing else could win. Nothing else was off in that. So for me, this is where we're at. When punters moan all the time, we have to be trying to be balanced on this show. I want bookmakers to lay a bet, but if we're stopping half at horses,
I was watching in running there, and that baby Joseph horse was absolutely cantering and was 50 on the machine.
Yeah, that's 6 feet apart. If I've not mentioned it, I don't know if I mentioned it.
Honest to God, I nearly backed it, and then I thought, no, I don't silly.
Yeah. The next race, the 120, was the Gibneys for Auction Novice Hurdle, and I'm convinced here that Willie's had the juice. He just looked it for me. It was sweating down the neck. It's a sign I look for, especially in Irish horses when they're sweating down the neck and stuff like that. He kind of, especially when they well backed. And this horse jumped well, but kept finding. Despite the third horse, 3 Card Bragg, jumped like me really. After 6 points, he literally just really struggled, and like with the pace dropping in trip, and I just thought that was the horse to take out the race. But the money for the Willies, I thought that might have had some. Some magic carrots, John. Hercule de Soy.
It kept going, didn't it?
Yeah. It made an absolute howler at the last, absolutely smashed through the last, and still kept going. And I don't think they got past it. 3 Card Bragg maybe, but yeah. Anyway, that's what I thought. That was my assessment there. The Liz Mullen Hurdle, the 2.5 mile race there at Navan, was won by the Shock, home by the Lee. And this is where my rage was around my living room as I'm shouting and going berserk. Zana here, John, for me, is the Irish Goshen.
Equine wanker.
It is. It's a total wank bag. I mean, how can it jump as bad as that? Terrible. A horse that's contested so many grade ones, so many, he's been around the top level.
Saying a hurdle, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It's as if they're not skulled. I mean, what was that? Obviously, we wanted to take on Bob Ollinger because it was one of your best spots, I think, last year. You haven't jumped on the after time wagon of Bob Ollinger's not right. You said it before the Cheltenham race in March last year, and you said physically there's something amiss with Bob Ollinger.
Yeah, and I still think that because as soon as he comes off it, he just moves like absolute cripple to me. I mean, I can't understand it. I think there's something really, really deep-seated going on with the horse.
He looks left, doesn't he? When they proper ask him, when I dial in Rachel, that sounded Welsh. Asks him, he kind of just lugs to the left. That's so.
Yeah, I mean, to me, curls up like a salted slug. The minute the reins go slack, he's out the cock.
Are you surprised then at the praise that he's got today in some quarters in terms of a good comeback?
Well, people seem to think that he's just been sat with his feet up since his chasing career came to an end, don't they? You know? I mean, the last time I heard anything about Henry de Bromhead, it was that he does actually have gallops at home, so I would assume that Bob Ollinger has been up and down them a couple of times before he's run. So those who say, oh, he's been off forever and all this, you know, at the end of the day, he's got beaten off levels by home by the leg rate 150, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I think we're going to take this one on, aren't we, for the season?
Well, I certainly can't back this horse until I see him move different when he comes off it.
Interesting insight there from John. And bearing in mind, folks, this is not John after timing. John was before the Cheltenham Fez on this. He basically said he wasn't quite happy with this horse, certainly how it shaped over fences in terms of, and he was one of the first to call it. So yeah, I'm giving John kudos there because that was my shape on the race. Obviously, I took the wrong option. I backed Zana here and I backed Ashdale Bob, thinking that Flooring Porter was just having a float, which it did, and it's the wrong option. So you mess up. How it goes. Captain Guinness. I mean, Riviere de Tel. I mean, some of Gordon's today, the same colours. Riviere de Tel, the Morans horses today. Riviere de Tel. She set off like she didn't want to compete. She just hanging to the right, jumping to the right. She was awful today, John.
Again, Captain Guinness has pretty much had his cock out for everybody to examine for ages, hasn't he? You know, I mean, we know exactly what we've got there with Captain Guinness. Another so what sort of race, really. I mean,
yeah, Andy Dufresne disappointing. Couldn't beat Riviere de Tel despite Riviere de Tel jumping like a complete oof throughout the race. So Andy Dufresne, another punt.
I'm not really interested in any of them four going forward, to be honest.
No, not at all. And then more disappointing for the Morans in the last with the bumper horse. I just wonder sometimes with trainers if it's feed or something, because that Founder 50 in the bumper was travelling like a travelly thing, like just literally just it won the race. It had gone on. Cod looked through his legs. He looked to the side, and then the other one just galvanised a bit, and then he folded like a pack of cards. He found a 50 in the bumper to send punters home. Miserable.
He travelled like Alan Wicker on acid, didn't he?
He did, and that's it. I mean, that's the game. Everyone spent it, counted it, thought, yes, we've won, we've done it. And then you could see the misery in the crowd, the absolute misery and pain. Clubber Lang pain. Yeah, absolutely did. So yeah, I mean, look, we could cover Cheltenham today, but I'm not even going to discuss some Cheltenham races today. It's bollocks. I mean, what's happening with this dolling off thing, John? I mean, how can you have national hunt racing, right, when you're dolling off, like hurdles, fences, you know, some races can be affected by up to, if you do 2 laps, it could be like up to 6 or 7 fences, or it could be 4 or 5 hurdles. It's just becoming a farce, is it not?
Well, if you're not going to put sight screens up, it's just going to be a perennial problem now, isn't it? But the way health and safety is moving, it's just going to go on and on. They're going to need to sort something out where they make these decisions a bit quicker, because you ended up with the Great Wood clashing with the Racing Island. But again, you see, you got Ruby Walsh, Richard Doyle's getting stuck in over that, calling it a disgrace, all the rest of it, you know. But they're attacking the nameless there, aren't they? You know.
That's
giving a fuck about who's in charge of that, really.
That's the media skill, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what they do. They
love the false start in the national that year. It's the little fucking bloke with the flag, isn't it? You know, it's not the twat in the bowler hat.
No, it's the BHA do the same thing with the old non-triers. So it'll be somebody claiming 7 on a small trainer, maybe even a permit trainer, like out the back in a novice hurdle, and they get a 2.
If you don't want blaming for something going wrong in racing, don't be a little fella.
No, exactly.
Basically,
they come for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they come for you and they crush you. This is the thing. If you're somebody, they won't touch you because they can't. They haven't got the power. They're powerless.
If Place had still been in charge at Cheltenham, they'd have just brushed it under the carpet.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is the thing going forward with jumps racing. There's a lot of problems. They don't seem to want to source it. I mean, a simple solution would have been, right, what's the weather forecast, chaps? It is blazing sun all afternoon. Okay, so at what point will the sun be at around 2:50 p.m? Well, it's going to be right in the faces at that point, Sergeant. Okay, right. So then why not, after the race before, take out the hurdles, right, where they were supposed to be, rather than dull them off so they don't have to stupidly run round them like it's some kind of crazy golf course, and just simply run the proper path of the race. I'd be sort of less annoyed at that than the current format where they just put arrows on them.
Well, some places, I mean, when you're going round them, you can only get 3 horses abreast.
I mean, what are the yard exactly? What are the staff doing at the track in between races? I mean, you're telling me they can do it for the bumper, so why can't they do it like in between races? Right, take the hurdles out, chaps. We're not going to foresee it, and make that decision. Let's say if the sun goes behind a cloud. Well, tough shit. You've made a decision. But that's the decision made because the forecast is, look, it's that sun's there in the sky. It's there.
Yeah, because surely these things get logged. I mean, if this meeting occurs next year, they're going to know that at 3 o'clock, if it's sunny, they won't be able to jump X, Y, and Z in the race.
Yeah. I mean, another thing would possibly be start earlier. That's another.
Start it at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, whatever. If you're going to have proper jump racing, then you've got to do something about it, and you can't just show it. But like you said, John, you're right. The media will like that because they can attack it because there's no one to attack. There's no individual to attack, and this is where the bar stewards always come in. Yeah, so I'm not covering the racing at Cheltenham today. It's a shithole, and I'm against Cheltenham now for what you've all done to Fry down there. You disgraceful. Absolute disgraceful human beings. This is the thing. You're all the be kind mob. You're the people that basically I kind of despise because you're the ones that sit there on your mountain of virtue, your moral perch, and yet you abuse a lady like this that basically trying to do her job. Disgraceful people, and we'll always defend Catherine Fry. Okay, so racing. Next topic, chaps. I'll bring you in here, Chris. Johnny Deneen. He seems to be a colourful character in the Racing Post. He's had his debut this week in terms of re-galvanising the Racing Post, it seems, in terms of this is a former bookmaker turned professional punter. He produces thoughts, and he's quite a colourful character, Chris.
Yeah, I actually like the column, to be honest with you. I think it made a real change from the usual sort of, strapping son of Wootton Bassett type rubbish that the current journalists sort of churn out. He does enjoy, legendary status on Irish racecourses. I'm personally not familiar with him. I just know him by reputation. But I think that's a sort of kind of copy that punters want to read. Now, you can take issue with some of his comments about that he's not price sensitive. You can say, well, that's right or that's wrong. But, for average Joes, that's the sort of, commentary that people want to read, that he takes definite opinions about stuff. He sprinkles it in with a bit of information about the Nichols horse in the first at Cheltenham on Saturday. That ran well, 100 grand well spent there. And sort of finish off with an anecdote. I really liked it, and I'd like to see more of that sort of content myself, because I think it appeals to ordinary Joes, actually.
Do we think that it had a bit of a Mark Winstanley kind of aura to it?
Yeah. It does. But I think he would be several leagues above Mark Winstanley. No disrespect to the
Mark
cow,
Winstanley was hilarious, though. Come on. You remember the old Mark Winstanley call?
Yeah, the same always stays longer than the mother-in-law. That was his favourite. You know, not for me, can't have it. You know, it was sort of a cliche factory. But you know, I think this guy, you know, has got a real kind of, you know, speaks in the punter's tone, which is what people want. Whereas I think the current sort of analyses that you read in the press are all quite dry. I quite like that, and I'd like to see more of it. But yeah, I mean, it was a good thing, I think.
I'm sort of similar to you. I didn't like the price thing, because obviously that's just complete nonsense. You know, you literally, unless you have your card marked that a certain horse isn't off, or you know this
or whatever,
then you have to be price sensitive. It literally is. If you thinking that the race you're playing on is straight, then it's all about price, and everything else doesn't matter. You know, that's the thing. People like to back winners, but at the same time, it literally is. You have to say no sometimes to horses that you think will win, because obviously the price isn't there. So he's wrong on that. But other than that, I found it sort of half entertaining. John, I don't know if you get a chance to read it. Did you get a chance to read it?
I've had a little bit of a flick through it. The thing that struck me is he looks a bit like Eamon Holmes would look if he'd gone down the knife fighting route. Instead of presenting daytime telly.
Yeah, I mean, he seems a character. I mean, it sounds like there's a story to tell with him, and a lot of our Irish listeners will probably know him better than we do, because it's just been thrust upon us. And
I certainly get the impression that his column will be a little bit of a change of direction and will be an interesting read for a change. You know, I mean, the majority of the people that write in the Post, the only thing I want to read from them is a fucking suicide note.
Well, I tell you how I liked it. I liked it from the fact that when he said things like, I can't have Bob Ollinger, like you know, and I mean, it's brash. I like that. It's an interest, like you say. We've had years of like Richard Birch and you know and shit like that, and then at least you get a colourful character that kind of just says, look, can't have this, can't have it on my mind, and I don't mind that. We know it's bullshit in a way, because obviously you can never be absolutes. You know, you in racing, when you're looking at a race and pricing it up, you can never be absolute and say this will win. It's just not. But I kind of like the edge he brings in that respect when he said, no, can't back this, can't have this. You're an idiot if you back this. I don't mind that. I think it could be quite a fun column, but I know I've had some emails like Sean. He's messaged me and says he fucking hated it. So there's lots of different opinions on this flying about, but Johnny Deneen, I reckon, could be kind of a Marmite kind of character.
You know, I mean, at least if somebody's talking about it, you know, I mean, it's doing a job of sorts, isn't it? You know, if everybody's just ignoring it and, you know, get more wallpaper, well, so what, you know? But if people are aggravated enough to say they can't stand it, you know, I mean...
I have to be honest, I enjoyed reading it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that, I something to speak.
No. And that's the acid test, isn't it? Whether you agree with it or not. If you enjoyed reading it, then it served its purpose, I think.
Yeah. It was kind of different from the normal Racing Post shit that you read, so... But I'm sorry if our listeners are, and I know I've had certain emails on it saying that they're not impressed with it, and I kind of get that, but I read it word for word, and I just thought there was bits of it was sort of the Irish Winstanley for me, but you know I kind of enjoyed it. Anyway, so we'll finish now on the 888 Sport debacle this week. Carn Berry, who highlighted this on Twitter. Obviously, Khan's a Betfair trader, and he's always spoken up about the current white paper review that's obviously a disgrace to punters and is going to shaft punters up the arse. And 888 Sport seemed to be taking it to a absolute new level, where there was a chap this week that he had won £300 off a bet, and 888 Sport decided that if he wanted to withdraw it, he had to provide a notarized proof of identity, which actually costs money to do. You have to get this signed by a professional in public, blah blah blah. This is unheard of, chap. This is taking a new sinister route. And the problem I have here is the fact that the Gambling Commission, whilst they've got their rules in place and and everything else, they don't appear to be making bookmakers adhere to the rules in terms of punters when they're trying to withdraw the money.
Yeah, I mean, but taking a cynical view, that they want to make it hard for you to withdraw it because I think you said before we started recording, punters say, I can't be bothered to get notarized. I'll try and spin it up again, and they're hoping that you're going to do it in, because that's the thing. They want you to keep money in the account because you're always tempted to have a chase up bet somewhere or wherever. So, taking a cynical view, you can see exactly what's on their minds, really, to make it really difficult to get your winnings out.
I mean, the thing is, though, Chris, this is a really dirty game.
Yeah,
being played by Big Corp and
sharp practice, isn't it?
We're honestly, we're at a stage now. The problem is, and we do live in a world of all right jacks. I'm all right, Jack.
Yeah.
And punters that, like you said, you even said it, Chris, about team game. It's not a team game.
Yeah, no, it's not.
If you've got an account and they're laying your bets and they're happy and you're withdrawing, you don't give a fuck about Tom from Walsall that can't get his money.
No,
you don't care.
Not at all.
So that's the point here, that until it affects you, you aren't going to give a shit.
No, and it utterly relies. The fact they're able to continue to do it relies on the fact that people invariably operate out of self-interest. If it was happening to absolutely everybody, then it would change overnight. But because
it would. Sort of people go berserk.
Yeah, people look at it, roll their eyes, go, "Oh, that's terrible, that," but it hasn't happened to me, so fuck them. That's the attitude.
It is. I mean, it's not Twitter, is it? I mean, no. Twitter, it's like everyone cares.
In reality, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
In reality, until it affects them, and then they're back on, "Oh, this is outrageous."
Yeah,
and that's what they rely on. They rely on the fact that, unlike the sort of anti-gambling lobby, there is no kind of sort of shared purpose, is there? Because all the winning punters or punters that are not affected are all, blissfully isolated, whereas all the people that have been affected by gambling harm are all united. That's why they're more effective at lobbying.
Yeah, indeed. This is the problem we're in, that we're in very strange times in that there's certain things we can do, no problems, and there's certain things we can't. We're not allowed to as a society. So I've highlighted this before, that it's impossible for me to bet online now. Just about, other than Betfair, I've still got my Betfair, but apart from that, I've got absolutely no means whatsoever of getting a bet online other than agents that I use and utilise in the morning via various means. It could be WhatsApp, bookies, whatever. But the thing for me is that if you're allowed to deposit, say I could deposit 25,000 in IG Index tomorrow, no questions asked, none, no, nil, nada. Do it all in a day. Trading the CFDs. It's classic, isn't it?
Completely. Yeah. I mean, I would just add that I actually do worry about Tommy from Walsall. I'm thinking of starting a GoFundMe page for him.
Yeah, run off with the fucking money as well. Yeah, my little dog needs an operation at the vet. Yeah, fucking stock picture. 1,500 quid in a week. Fuck off with it. Yeah. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
I'd send a text like Gavin Williams and I'd say, "I'm sat here with a Polish Spaniel."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could do loads of them. Yeah. All little dogs with bows say he's lost his leg. His legs don't work anymore. Yeah.
Oh dear.
That was the thing. Do you remember the BBC TV, the children's, but Take Heart? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Right. There was a sure way to get a picture featured on the gallery, right? And a cruel child that I used to go to school with tested this theory out, and he did a stick man with massive ears, and he wrote under it, he goes, my ears don't work anymore, and a tear, and it was got shown on it. There you go. That's the guaranteed way to get on it. It's a Bleeding Heart story. My ears don't work, and Tony Hart showed it. And I lost complete faith in human nature at that very moment.
We're a cynical bunch.
It's true.
Of course, I know it's true exactly, but that's why we're cynical. I've always said the longer you live, the more cynical you become. The youth of today are so just blind to just what the real world's all about. It's all leg lifting and shafting, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, of course it is. and it always has been, always will be. Unfortunately, it's human nature, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. What a show.
Stick that up the press room, eh? Fuck them.
We've done everything. We've done the Cheltenham press room, Lydia's Hindenburgs, Coral Race Club, Emmet Mullens, Johnny Deneen, 888 Sport,
and Tony
all the stuff you don't get discussed. Emmet Mullens as non-trier. Yes, come on, let's highlight that. But yeah, we've done it all. I hope you enjoyed it. That's all from me, John and Chris. Bye for now.